Hello again, everybody. Back once again with some more of my Blu Ray horror collection. Obviously, I've done all the arrows, so I'll be starting on the shelf next to it. Hope everybody's well. Hope everybody's staying away from the coronavirus. Hope everyone's not getting too bored. I'd like to say a shout out to Tom, Horrin, Todge, and Horrorman for the support, as obviously I've only just started my channel in the last few days, and those guys especially have been commenting and watching and supporting my videos, so thanks for that. And obviously I've subscribed back and watching you lot, but anyway, back on with the matter at hand. So this is one I've got quite recently, Rabid. This is the Soska Sisters remake. The original one is by David Cronenberg. I did actually quite enjoy this one. It's got what's her name? Basically, she used to be Superwoman. Big crush on her when I was younger. She's still nice in this one. Pretty crazy gore effects, some quite shocking scene. Did quite enjoy this one. Quite sort of messed up. A bit more conventional here, but you've got the Conjuring. I do like this one a lot. I'm not always a massive fan of a lot of these Hollywood kind of films, but I think this is one of the best ones. Well made, got some sort of tense scenes. Quite an interesting film. I'd say one of the better ones of all of those. Conjuring 2, not quite as good, but nearly as good. This one's based on the Enfield haunting, which was supposedly a real case in England. Of like a poltergeist. This has got some pretty creepy bits. I didn't like the what's he called, the Crooked Man. I found well, it wasn't even CGI. Apparently, it was actually a person in a costume that was real thin. But I don't know. I thought the sort of style of him looked a bit strange, whereas the Ghost of the Old Man and the Ghost of a Nun especially was really good. The bit when she comes out the painting was real creepy, and I thought it was a shame that I haven't actually seen the Nun, but I've not heard great things about it, and it had a lot of potential. Next you've got Hereditary. I really like this one. A slow burner. I know a few people that didn't like this, but I really enjoyed it. I thought this was creepy, disturbing, really well made, had a lot of sort of different things going on, some shocking scenes. First Ari Aster's first film, really sort of good directorial debut. And I've got his next film, a bit more recent, Midsummer. Didn't like this quite as much, but again, a few shocking scenes. Quite long. This is the director's cut, so I think it goes for nearly 3 hours. See if I can find it. Can't see it on there at the moment, but I know it was long. But it's one of the first, I wouldn't even say it's a horror, it's more of like a breakup film drama, but the way it's shot in the daylight with some beautiful scenery and that is very nice to look at if you're sort of an aspiring cameraman, videographer, then I think you'll enjoy that. This one I think is quite underrated. I know a lot of people didn't like this, of Eric Bana, Deliver Us from Evil, but I thought it was quite creepy. Thought the sort of evil guy in it, especially when he's in the zoo, and that was quite interesting. Some quite good scenes. I did quite enjoy that one. Then you've got Sinister. I do really like this one of Ethan Hawke. I'd say this is a horror, but it's got sort of more sort of crime thriller sort of elements in it. And Bagul is quite a good sort of new horror character. I did quite like that. And you've got Sinister 2, which I didn't like quite as much. I don't think it was as awful as a lot of people said, but I think it sort of fell way short of the original. I think a lot of sequels do. I can't think of many sequels that are actually better than the original. This one's a classic, really like this one, Don't Look Now. This is a Studio Canal Classics, really nice transfer, some nice special features and that. This is really good, A Quiet Place, I like this one a lot. This one's one of the only films I've ever seen where sort of pretty much no dialogue and it works in the film's favour. But the first few minutes, well, 15 minutes when it started, I found it quite bizarre with the dialogue and thought, is it going to work? But it does, especially once you get into it. This is a nice collectible set I got here. Some of these collectibles, I might sort of do an actual, open it up and get out the booklet and talk about it more in depth in the future, but just try and do an overview of a lot of these at the moment. But this is a classic. George C. Scott's brilliant in this. One of my favourite horrors and one of my favourite films ever. I'd say this is the film he's best in, followed secondly by The Exorcist 3, but I think he's better in this. One thing I will say about this is not so much all the way through the film, but the first sort of 15 minutes or so, I found it was quite, the transfer was quite grainy. I don't know whether as it went on I got used to it, but I've got a DVD copy of that I bought more than 10 years ago. That seemed to have less grain. Didn't annoy me too much, but yeah, just near the start, maybe some of the older film was sort of more damaged or something. Then you've got The Thing. This is I think it's kind of a prequel, but it's the sort of newer one. Not as bad. I didn't hate it as much as a lot of people. Obviously, it's not as good as the original John Carpenter's Thing, but CGI I didn't think was too great, especially when you're coming after this one, which has got, I'd say, the best special effects by Bob Bottin ever. That still sort of stands up nowadays. If you were making a lot of films, you could CGI it, but if I was the director, I'd be thinking, well, after what's come before with brilliant practical effects, let's try and have some more practical effects, whereas the CGI sort of seems more glaring compared to what people have expected from the original. Another John Carpenter, Prince of Darkness. I think it's really underrated. A lot of people don't sort of like this too much, but I think it's one of Carpenter's better films. Quite a slow burner. First time I seen it when I was younger, didn't like it too much, but nowadays I really enjoy it. Got another John Carpenter. Both of these are Studio Canal. This one's got a nice slipcase, Escape from New York. Kurt Russell, I like pretty much anything with Kurt Russell. Lee Van Cleef's good in it. Then you've got Donald Sutherland as the president. I'm sure most of you know this, but basically the president's plane goes down. He's kidnapped by a gang in New York, which has basically been turned into like a prison sort of city. No one leaves, no one goes in, and then Snake Plissken, he's called, Kurt Russell's character has to go in to sort of save him. I'll just show one more now, so I don't want this video to be too long, as it's coming up to 7 minutes and it takes me a long time to upload them. But you've got a nice steelbook of The Shining. Obviously all of you know this is not just my opinion, but I think the general consensus, one of the best horror films ever made. I say Stanley Kubrick's best film. Anything I find weird about that film is that Stephen King really didn't like it. I don't know if anybody's seen the actual made-for-TV sort of version of it. I think it's got Timothy Hutton or someone in, but I didn't like that one at all. And obviously Stephen King's wrote with source material, so I guess he's got his own opinion, but Stephen King's one of the only people I've ever sort of heard from that actually thinks the TV version is better than this. And even though they change it from the book, surely he can still recognise it's a really well made film. I'll leave it there for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll do a part 2 of this shelf, uploading these both quite soon. Thanks everybody.